Those of you who are hopping on, make sure that you like this and share this to groups or anyone that you think would need to think through and consider and hear from former Senator Joseph Silk, who was the first state senator of any of our 50 states to author a bill of total and immediate abolition concerning abortion. So Joseph has been in this fight for years and years, and let's see what he has to say about this. So, all right, we got 17 people on here now, 18. Make sure you keep sharing this and telling other people to share. And then when we finish this, we'll ask for what questions do you have. We'll field a few questions. So I'm here. My name's Brett. I'm one of the pastors of a local church in Muskogee, Oklahoma. I'm here with former Senator Joseph Silk. We just finished a meeting, and I asked him if he would be willing to hop on real quick, and we could just ask him some questions. I know a lot of you were watching what was happening in the Oklahoma legislature today in the Health and Human Services Committee and wondering what happened with SB 495, with Senator Warren Hamilton's bill to abolish abortion, and where do we go from here? How do we think about this? What work do we need to be doing next? So first off, Joseph, thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Just tell us briefly what happened today with SB 495.
Yeah, so what's interesting about Senate Bill 495, so I carried this bill for 5 straight years, and Oklahoma Senate leadership would never even give it a committee hearing. And then, just so happened this year, they put it on the first meeting of the first week, literally the third day of the legislature. So how did they go from not hearing it for 5 years all the way up to immediately hearing it? Well, what happened is they want to essentially kill the abolition movement. They don't want this to be an issue. If you guys remember Senate Bill 13, it was hanging over their head for a long time. There was a lot of momentum behind it. It hurt them politically. They lost a few incumbents in elections. So what they decided to do is, if you look at the makeup of the Senate Health and Human Services Committee, they clearly stacked the committee where it was very, very a hostile environment. It was Senator Hamilton's first time to ever present a bill whatsoever, and they did it prior to Abolition Day. So the goal was, let's snuff this out as soon as we can. So I had some calls with Senator Hamilton and some other people yesterday. I said, you go into that committee room, you're looking at a 10-0 no vote, and that's exactly what happened. So that's what happened with it, and it was very intentional.
Yeah. So what did they do in effect? So it gets a hearing, which we've never got before.
Right.
But they gave it a hearing, and then they all voted no, just boom, 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 boom.
Right.
What does that mean for SB 495?
Yeah, so Senate Bill 495 is dead now. It was final action is what it's called. You cannot resurrect the bill. You cannot, pull it back. You can't do anything. It's dead. There's nothing that can be done about Senate Bill 495, and that was the only abolition bill in Oklahoma, and they knew that. And so what people don't understand is the way the government works. So Senate leadership went to each one of those committee members and made sure that they were going to vote no. And so they knew that if they put it on the agenda, they hear it, it's going to go down. And I say that to some people, and they're like, no, they're not really that bad, are they? I've been in the meetings. For 6 years, I've watched them do it. It was a movement that they don't like. It puts them in a hard spot. What can they do to kill this? And they did it. So Senate Bill 495 is completely dead. It was a trap that they set. It was walked right into, and they got their way.
Yeah. So what does that mean for abolition in general in Oklahoma in 2021?
Yeah, so for the grand scheme of things, the goal's still the same. We've got to continue to push the legislature to end abortion and to stop the incremental approach. We've got to stop killing babies in Oklahoma. So you need to make build a relationship with your local senator and your local representative and keep pushing the issue. So we're going to do the best we can next year to have a bill. You don't have to have a bill to be very, very effective in the abolitionist movement. We've got to make sure that we continue to do that, continue to push, and let them know that you didn't kill the movement. You probably just made things worse.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you're sitting there going, how on earth could they vote no on this bill? Well, then, humbly, I would just say you need to wake up a little bit. Because they have not even given this a hearing yet. This is the first time they give it a hearing, and they do it in a way that seems very clearly. They did it just so that they could kill it, and it's suspect that they did it 6 days before Abolition Day as well, because they know thousands of people are going to come from all over Oklahoma to be at the state capitol and calling their governing authorities, their representatives and senators, to abolish abortion without exception or compromise. They know that's going to happen in 6 days. Yeah. I mean, in the last 6 years that you've been in the legislature, have you seen the abortion bills ever brought up day 2 of the legislative session?
No, so that's never happened, and there's so many things. So typically there's a lot of abortion bills, even just regular pro-life abortion bills that don't do anything. Typically they get together and say, okay, which 2 or 3 are we going to focus on? Mm-hmm. Well, this committee meeting, they had 6 on one committee meeting in addition to the abolition bill. So they did that so that they can go tell their constituents, well, yeah, we voted no on that one, and it was a unanimous vote, but we did these other things. So typically they don't hear very many abortion bills. Well, they did this year. They put it on the first week, like you said, and they had their committee stacked, and they had their no votes secured to make sure that it was just completely snuffed out. The other thing that kind of proves that, Senator Hamilton had requested to lay the bill over to a later date, basically to make sure that we can help lobby and educate the legislature and put pressure on them as much as we can. And the chairman told him no, he wanted to hear it. In 6 years, I have never once heard of a chairman telling a bill author that no, you can't lay your bill over, because they don't have the legal authority to do that in the Senate rules. So the fact that the chairman was like, no, we've got to hear the bill, it kind of proves that they had intentions behind it.
Especially when that chair had, in the past, opposed it.
Right.
So it's like, well, why are you so anxious to hear it if you oppose it in general? If you oppose the bill, you should say, okay, fine, we're not going to hear it. I don't want to hear it anyways. But they wanted to hear it so that they could boom, 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 try to kill the bill and really try to take the air out, it seems, try to take the air out of the abolition movement. And what they don't realize is they just made a lot of people wake up to realize that 7 pro-life legislators just voted to keep abortion legal in Oklahoma. That's in effect what it is. They would say, no. That's not what we're doing. We're just saying we don't want to criminalize the mother. That's not what they're doing. What they're doing in actuality is they voted to keep abortion legal, to protect women to be able to go and murder their children.
Yeah, they did.
If you don't realize that's what's actually happening, and you just think all that needs to happen is women need to be helped or all of that, and then it would stop, you need to come to the abortion mill with us in Tulsa or in Oklahoma City or in Norman and realize that you can offer all the help you want. And a lot of times they'll throw up their middle finger and cuss at you even when you're saying, would you please come and talk to us? We'd love to help you in any way we possibly can. We'll adopt your baby. We'll give you money so that you don't have to give up your baby. If that's the issue, we'll help you in any way. And women walk in there every day to murder their children because pro-life legislators in Oklahoma have continually fought against the abolition of abortion.
Yeah.
They've killed bills that would have made it illegal to slaughter children.
Yep.
So what does it mean for abolition in 2021? Well, legislatively, or as far as bills, it means, well, it's not a setback, but they killed the bill.
Yeah, they killed. I mean, there's an outside chance we can find another bill and swap out some language, but that's a real long shot. But essentially, You're right. Legislatively, it's done. They killed it, but we still gotta put the pressure on.
Yeah. So why is Abolition Day, which is next Tuesday, February 9th, at 9:30 a.m. at the Oklahoma State Capitol? Why is Abolition Day still important? Because there might be some people that are like, well, SB 495 just got killed. Why would we do Abolition Day?
Right. And I would say it's almost more important now because the goal of the goal of this trap that they set and their agenda to snuff this out immediately, it almost makes it more important because they need to know you're not going to silence the abolitionists. So in the past couple of years with Senate Bill 13. There was so much push on the legislature from the constituents, and they didn't like that because the normal legislator likes to go up there and not be hassled. They like to do their thing and not be pushed by their constituents. Well, that didn't happen. So what they came up with was, well, let's kill this early on so that we don't have to deal with the phone calls and the emails and the meeting requests from constituents about this issue. This way we can say, well, it's already over. We need to make sure that that's not what they're going to receive. We need to have 4 times, 5 times the amount of people at Abolition Day because they did this. So if you were on the fence whether to go or not, this vote, this trap that they set, it should push you over the line to come, not to not come. It's even more important than it was.
Yeah, I agree. Tuesday, February 9th, 9:30 a.m. at the Oklahoma State Capitol, we're going to rally to abolish abortion and to call our governing authorities to do what God has delegated them authority to do. And that's to bear the sword against evildoers, to warn evildoers that if you slaughter people, we bear the sword not in vain, and we will use it against you. That warns people and thwarts them from slaughtering their children. So, in addition to that, what do we need to do now? What's something, I know there are so many things that we can do to work towards better loving our preborn neighbors. Well, what's one thing from your point of view that we as Christians need to be doing?
Yeah, so, and I've said this for the past several years, it's got to be constituent pressure. If your state senator or state representative, the one that represents you, does not know that you are an advocate for abolition and you think abortion should be classified as murder and illegal in the state, there's something wrong. You need to be on the phone today calling your state senator and your representative and say, I'm not happy with what just happened in the Senate Health and Human Services Committee. This really infuriates me. They need to know that. You need to start building a relationship with them in the sense of call them and set a meeting up with them, whether it be to take them out to coffee when they come back to their district, or go to the city and take them out to dinner and start building that relationship. They need to know who you are. They need to know what you're passionate about. They need to know what you expect them to do. That is vitally important. That's what we've got to do in the state, is to educate citizens on the abolition movement and then help them to engage their local legislature. That's the only way we're going to get this done, is if the people of Oklahoma, the believers in Oklahoma, engage their local representation. And there's a lot of resources out there to help you do that. I will help you with talking points, and I know Brett will, and everything else, and we'll do everything we can to help you do that. But you need to be on the phone today, leaving messages at your senator's office and your state rep's office.
Mm-hmm. You need to remember that your rep and your state senator, first of all, you need to know who they are. Who are they? Do you have a relationship with them at all? Do they know who you are? They should, because you pay their salary. They work for you, and they represent you in the State House. So are you okay with the fact that your representatives have fought against the abolition of abortion, and they have actually fought for keeping abortion legal in your state? Are you okay with that? If not, then you need to get involved, and you need to meet with them and tell them this is the reality of what God says in His Word, and they need to obey Jesus and fear God rather than fear man. So what questions could we possibly answer? So I can see the comments rolling in here. Who has a question? And we'll try to field some of them. One that I saw Ray, a pastor friend here, comment just a minute ago was, when I'm talking to my legislators, they keep saying it's a poorly written bill.
Yeah, not true. This was drafted by very, very sharp attorneys. That's a common excuse. A poorly written bill. What they're meaning is, this bill's unconstitutional because it doesn't cave to the Supreme Court Roe v. Wade opinion. That does not mean it's a poorly written bill. It's a bill that clearly upholds the Constitution and calls out the Supreme Court where they're wrong. So it's a very well written bill. There's probably been about 8 to 10 years of thought and research put in to the language of the bill. So if your legislator asks that, my response is, can you show me which page number and which line is bad language? He's not going to be able to tell you that.
Yeah, that's good. What other questions do you guys have? I could ask Bradley Pierce a question because he's actually on there. How does it make you feel, Bradley, when someone says this is a poorly written bill? Attorney Bradley Pierce is one of the guys instrumental in that in multiple states, including Oklahoma. What other questions could we possibly answer while we've got former Senator Silk live? Is it true that another abolition bill can't be put forward until 2023? Joseph Tiger asks.
Yes, so it's true in the sense that if a bill has reached final action, like Senate Bill 495 did, the same exact bill is technically not allowed until 2023. Now, there's a lot of different ways around that. One, we could get something going in a House. So if you know your House of Representatives guy, get on him and see if he will author it next year. Two, there's a possibility we can split it up into two bills, so it's not an identical bill. That's going to be a little bit more difficult because then we have to get both bills passed. But there is ways around it, but that is a concern, and I promise you that Senate leadership did know that. That's why they were like, let's kill it this year, because then we can have 2 years to not worry about these crazy Christian abolitionists.
Is there a way that the language can be changed enough to where you can present the bill that accomplishes essentially the same things, but the language is changed so that it can be presented in 2022?
Yeah, so, I mean, Senate leadership does that all the time. So if they have a bill that goes down, they'll change a few words and present it the next year. They probably won't allow that to happen with this movement.
Because who controls whether or not it's subjective, is it not?
It is, and so it's really Senate leadership. I mean, and if they're like, this is bill, you changed a couple words, but it does the same thing as Senate Bill 495, so we're not going to allow it. But we're going to work hard to get around that. Yeah. But it is an additional obstacle that we're going to have to deal with. The best thing to do for next year is start something in the House and start it over there, because it wasn't a Senate bill.
Yep. So Ray commented, I'm trying to expand this to see exactly what you said, Ray, but I can't. It's not working. But I was told it was poorly written because it would do away with all the progress we have made in pro-life legislation. I don't even need to go to him for this. I can answer this. If it's illegal to slaughter children, you don't need laws that say you can only slaughter a child once you've done this, this, and this. You don't need any of the pro-life legislation if it's illegal to kill babies. And so that argument is like, I mean, my 8-year-old daughter would say, Lila, do we need all of these bills that say when, where, and how you can murder your baby to try to restrict it? If it's just illegal to murder a baby, she would go, no, you don't need that. Right. Well, is that a sufficient answer?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because people don't understand. If that's what he's talking about, that it repeals the pro-life laws that are on the books, the progress, it's those pro-life laws that if Roe v. Wade was overturned today, abortion would still be completely legal in Oklahoma because of all those laws that we have to get rid of. Because those laws are what have created false legal avenues on how you can kill your baby. So a poorly written bill would leave all of those in place. It would leave avenues on how you can kill your baby. But people have to understand, and again, think about that. If Roe v. Wade was overturned today, abortion would go on without a hitch, right? It'd be completely fine to continue because of all the pro-life legislation that we have on the books.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the nonseverability clause and that would make it, because Ray is saying that they were saying we pass this and then it gets struck down and then we lose all the pro-life legislation, and it's not abolished at the same time.
No, it's not true. I mean, Senate Bill 495, Senate Bill 13, they have inseverability clauses. Okay. Basically means you have to, it's the whole bill or it's none. You can't just take pieces of it. Yeah. And that's a scare tactic. People will be like, well, what if they just do this? And they can't. That's the purpose of a severability clause, is it's everything or nothing. So that's a very weak argument that you may hear from people.
What part can pastors play in abolishing abortion?
Call your state senator, call your state representative, tell them you're Pastor so-and-so from this church. You want to sit down and have a meeting with them. Additionally, start preaching this at your church and connecting with organizations who can help equip your church members to make an impact.
Dusty, I would add in addition to that, thank you for that question, I would encourage you to go to RescueThose.com. RescueThose.com. Think Proverbs 24:11, rescue those being carried off to death. We've created a website there with 6 main messages that deal with that very question. What can Christians and pastors in general do to love our preborn neighbors who are being slaughtered and to actually obey Proverbs 24:11, rescue those being carried off to death? So that's a great resource. Senator Silk or former Senator Silk, actually gave one of the messages, one of the talks at the conference that we used to launch that website. So you can go there and check that out. Ray, you're totally welcome. Make sure, if anything is not clear, Ray, keep commenting. And Bradley Pierce, who is the attorney that writes these bills, is actually on there as well. So if there's anything that we didn't clear up or that you have further questions on, Bradley is on this feed and he's commenting. So Bradley Pierce, make sure you check out for that, Ray, if you have any more questions. Dusty also asks, and just if you're just now hopping on, we're asking questions concerning SB 495 and abolition in general. What questions do you have? I'm here with former Senator Joseph Silk, who was in the Oklahoma legislature for 6 years.
Yeah.
And is now still active in engaging and fighting to protect our neighbors under the law and abolish abortion in the state of Oklahoma and beyond. So we're asking him questions, any questions you've got about abolition in general, or especially what happened today with SB 495, or where do we go from here? Dusty asks, can churches really have an impact?
Yeah, churches will be the key to actually end abortion in Oklahoma. And just from a legislative standpoint, legislators are very leery of pastors because pastors have an audience. Mm-hmm. So if a pastor gets involved with something, and politically, like ending abortion, and he starts preaching that to his congregation and helping equip his congregation, you go from one guy to a couple hundred constituents who know what's going on. Mm-hmm. So yes, pastors and churches will be the key to actually getting this done. So again, pastors, start building relationships with your legislator, your senator, and your representative. Start preaching it to your churches, and then connect organizations that will equip your churches and your congregation to actually make an impact. That's where it's going to happen.
And my friend Brittany's on here, and she's asking, what about, or when she's talking with people, they always bring up the separation of church and state.
Right. Yeah, separation of church and state is found nowhere in the U.S. Constitution. It's in the Federalist Papers, so that's just again, it's a scare tactic. The church, our founders always intended the church to pressure the legislature. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of confusion on that, but the state is never intended to pressure manipulate the church. Okay, so the church, absolutely, pastors, congregation should 100% be very politically involved, especially when it comes to things like killing babies. They need to make sure that does not happen. So again, separation of church and state, it's not anywhere in the Constitution whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. What other questions do you guys have that we could answer? We're getting a lot of comments before we got to that question saying, nowhere in the Constitution, nowhere in the Constitution.
It's not.
Nowhere in the Constitution, yeah. And they use it backwards. That whole idea is so that the state can't force churches what to do.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's why they fled. And that's why the Puritans came here, because they wanted to worship God purely and not have the state control what they believed or did. What else we got? What other questions that you've got? Well, I still have former Senator Silk here. Megan asks, what are some resources to equip us for conversations with legislators?
Okay, so
resources.
We'll work on that. So I would say contact your pastor and get him involved with Free the States, freethestates.org. Also, Rescue Those
RescueThose.com.
RescueThose.com. There's going to be some stuff there. I'm working very diligently to try to create some stuff to get you guys bullet points on here's going to be your objections from your legislatures. Here's how you need to interact with them. That's kind of a missing piece that we're really working on. So I would say, follow Rescue Those on Facebook, Ecclesia Muskogee, Free the States. Follow that, and we're going to try to make sure that we get you guys those resources. Hopefully within the coming days, and also come to Abolition Day, because I'm actually speaking at Abolition Day on Monday.
The conference.
Before Abolition Day.
Abolition
I'll be there talking about that specific thing that you're asking about. How do we talk to our legislators? Mm-hmm. And I'll share my information with you. We can start a dialogue there, and so I can help train you and assist you and give you any knowledge that I have.
Yeah, for right now, Free the States is very helpful in thinking about how to talk to your legislators. In addition to that, there's a specific page on the Rescue Those website. If you go to RescueThose.com and you see the message that Joseph preached there, saying we must demand our governing authorities establish equal justice. If you click on the button right below that, when you see this face, click on the button right below that says further study and action resources. If you do that, there's a whole list of how I get involved and how I can contact. And the simple encouragement from me to you would be set a meeting with your governing authorities. At the local level, at the state level, set a meeting with them talk to them and explain to them abolition in general and what God's word says, and then tell them their job is to protect the weak and the innocent. And unless they are actively engaging and fighting to make it illegal to slaughter children, then they have blood on their hands, or they will stand before the Lord and have blood on their hands. This is why he has delegated authority to the civil magistrate, primarily to protect the weak and the innocent, and to bear the sword as a terror to evildoers so that they will not do evil.
Right.
As a former senator, what are the pain points for politicians? I can't read super long comments. It won't let me hit see more. How do you speak to them about the things that are important? Jeremy asks. As a former senator, what are the pain points for politicians? How do you speak to them about the things that are important?
Well, I think what he's getting at is kind of how to. They need to know. So your typical legislator doesn't like engaged, educated constituents. They like to go to the Capitol and they like to be left alone and to do their thing and to get by with whatever. So I think one of the things that's going to cause them some grief, a good grief, not necessarily bad, is for you to begin to talk to them, build a relationship with them, and let them know that you're watching what they're doing. So, for example, one of the points would be, if you campaigned on pro-life issues, why haven't you even drafted a bill that would end abortion? Just ask them that question. And so you campaigned on this. Why are you not following up? Why are you not using your elected position of authority to actually put some action to your words? And I think that would be a good conversation. Now, you need to obviously be careful when you do it. You need to make sure you have a relationship with them, and that's when it goes back to set up a meeting with them, take them to dinner, have coffee with them, let them know who you are, what you do in the district, what your occupation is, your family, all that kind of stuff, and then start pressing them and saying, okay, so you said this, why aren't you doing this? So I think it's be very, very direct and let them know whatever issue it is. Let them know that you're educated on it and you're going to be watching what they're doing. That's what's going to get their attention.
That's great. What other questions? Let's take one more question, and then we're going to let Joseph go. Does this make the abolition rally and lobbying even more important?
Absolutely, it does. And we talked about this a little bit, but yes, the abolitionist rally is, I would say, even more important because basically Senate leadership set this trap. They walked in, unfortunately it was walked into. They tried to kill the bill, and they're going to try to take the wind out of the sails of the abolition movement. Well, what this needs to do is it needs to kind of backfire on them. And so we need to have more people at the rally, more people pushing on the legislature, being like, we are not happy that this took place. They want to have the remainder of their session kind of easy breeze, where they're not being bombarded with Christians saying, stop abortion, stop abortion, stop abortion. That's what they're wanting, and that's not what they should get. They should get a huge backlash over this. So come to the rally, bring 10, 15, bring as many friends as you can, bring your church. Get the church van, come up, and there will be a lot of good resources there to how to engage.
That's great. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm going to read a portion of Psalm 82, just for those that are watching that are trying to put into place, what does God say to governing authorities concerning issues like this? This is Psalm 82, verses 2 through 4. And this is the Lord speaking to governing authorities. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Selah. Selah means pause and meditate. When the Lord asks governing authorities, how long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Right now, our governing authorities in the state of Oklahoma show unjust partiality to mothers because they tell mothers, you can commit murder and it's fine. You can slaughter your children, and it's fine. And they tell abortion doctors that as well, but more specifically, they tell mothers. If they told men they can murder babies, then we would say, well, that needs to be illegal. They don't tell men that. They tell women, it's okay, we're not going to prosecute you. You can slaughter your children. And they do it 15 to 20 times a day, even in our state. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Give justice to the weak and the fatherless. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. Rescue the weak and the needy. deliver them from the hand of the wicked. This is what God himself, the creator of heaven and earth, says and demands from governing authorities. You need to hold them accountable because God has delegated his authority to them to be his ministers in the world, and they are to bear the sword and be a terror to evildoers to keep them from doing such things like slaughtering children. And so abortion must be abolished. We must not regulate child sacrifice and just simply tell someone when, where, and how they can murder their child. It needs to be illegal. Just as it's illegal to murder you, it needs to be illegal to murder a baby in the womb. Amen?
Yep, that's right.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking your time to do this and answer questions. Make sure that you like and share this so we can get this video around and help people be thinking. So, grace and peace to all of you. Bye.